So this is going well, right? What's your take on what we've heard so far? Is this grandstanding, or are we getting to something substantive?
I think, at the core of Libra and Facebook's involvement in it are questions about its relationship to government, to central banks, to regulators, and we're seeing some of these issues come out. Well, we saw Senator Warner press Marcus there on this question of whether Facebook was going to, what information it would have, whether it was going to privilege its own products through this all. And so these are super important questions that we haven't had specific answers to.
Laura, a year from now, do you think we're going to be talking about Libra as a real, actual, tangible service within the marketplace?
I think the question Wall Street's going to have is, Marcus just said they're not going to make money from this. Well, as a Wall Street analyst, I want to know why we're spending a lot of money on something that's not going to make money. So either he's not being truthful with Congress, or they're going to make money, or people like me are going to yell and scream at the CEO every single quarter about why we're wasting money on this.
Have we tried to model what this could mean? Is it just no way to know?
I think they're not going to let it happen. I think there's no trust in Washington, D.C.
They being?
Washington, D.C. Well, and EU, too. But if the U.S. is saying we should lead, they don't trust Facebook. Giving them the financial system to disintermediate, like the Federal Reserve, I don't think that's a better idea.
So you think this is not going to happen?
So I think the government's going to figure out a way to regulate it, like a bank or worse, and therefore it's going to take a lot longer to happen.
Which begs the question, is it going to be, even if it's not Facebook, based on what you just said, is this going to be something that's spearheaded by another tech company, or is it going to be financial institutions?
I think it would be more likely that YouTube could start this company and have it get through the regulators faster than Facebook could.
Because we don't have the well of bad will built up.
Yeah, because you're really smart.
Which is
and
why
you're really smart.
Which is why I asked last hour.
Keep it coming. This is going great. This panel.
Where are Facebook's partners on this, and when do they have to start coming, backing him up in some way, right? Yeah, Visa's voice would count for something.
Probably, but I think actually what the most likely scenario here, and Facebook has said that it wants Libra to launch in the first half of next year. I consider it highly unlikely that that happens, given all of the things that the Senate, the House, and central banks and regulators around the world are going to have to say about this. So the timing is very unlikely. The second thing, which I agree is actually a very likely outcome, is that this is going to be regulated. Facebook has said that they would comply with the regulations around anti-terrorism, money laundering, know your customer, all of these rules. That's actually a pretty significant regulatory thing. And I think it's likely that we wind up something that looks a lot less like Bitcoin, which is decentralized and anonymous, and something that is actually much more centralized and much more regulated. And then the question is, why bother at all? PayPal, TransferWise, others who are in the business of managing payments in the vein of what Facebook is talking about, have said that the blockchain is actually not the most efficient way to do this. It's kind of slow, it's expensive, and actually a centralized infrastructure is actually a better way to do it.
So, Laura, you have a hold rating on Facebook. Where does the possibility, or maybe the lack of a possibility, based on the scrutiny we're getting from D.C. right now, fit into that rating?
So we took our earnings estimate down $1, so we're now $1 below the consensus. We're at $6.62 for the current year. A lot of that is spending on things like this that, in theory, aren't going to make any money. And I think this is a stock that trades on EPS and a PE. So if they're going to continue to spend money on things they're not going to monetize, or like Oculus 4 years out, but someday may monetize, that adds risk to the story, and I'd rather be somewhere else. The last point on risk I'd want to make is that what Facebook did is invent a market that hadn't existed. What they're trying to do now is disrupt or work with existing ecosystem partners that are global. Like, every single country has an interest in not having the financial system disrupted. So that isn't something that the tech companies typically are good at.
Finally, that $5 billion fine, the stock barely blinked on Friday night and Monday morning. So, how much liability is in even worst case scenarios right now on the stock?
And I think a good question is, what can the government do to stop them? Because the market doesn't care about a $5 billion fine, even though it's a record fine. Basically, the market's saying it's not going to stop them from doing anything. And so the government has limited teeth to do stuff. It can fine you, but these are companies that are winner-take-all markets. So I don't think they want this company to get their hands on Libra, because then what do they do to stop them from bad behavior?
The flip side of that is that, I look at some of the articles we've seen even over the weekend, this idea that that FTC fine is just the beginning for Facebook. Do you believe that's the case?
I do. I think that the EU is using Google as a profit center to meet its budget shortfalls, and I think the U.S. is about to do that with Facebook.